The 8-year assault on your Second Amendment freedoms has come to a crashing end. I like taking the guns early. Take the guns first, go through due process second.
Well, I say go fuck yourself. Then ask a question, could I kill a man? I would enjoy myself. You can't disguise evil eyes that burn a hole in my head. This devil man and his master plan. We feel so misled, so I say, rise up, take all that. Rise up, take all that. Hope you all understand. We got to take it all back again.
These people are not going to take it any longer. We will never give up. We will never concede. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. But go home and go home in peace. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. You do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? I got my headphones on, right? Gerald B is in the house. Irish is in the house. What's up, my good friend Irish USMC vet? Man, Irish is working on a computer, and I really do hope that you get that fixed or get that working, because I'd love to have you on or at least video chat with you. Also, as y'all remember, what's up, Broken Patriot? I'm sorry, I forgot to say hello to Broken Patriot. What's up, Broken Patriot? How's your vacation? Well, your trip going? I don't know if it's a vacation or not, but getting out and seeing stuff, getting out of the Phoenix area, which is always nice. Although today was really nice in the Phoenix area. We had rain this morning all the way up until probably about 1:30 in the afternoon. Oh, and it's one of those warm rains. I absolutely love the warm rains. Anyway, so yesterday after the chat, by the way, thank you everybody for all the well wishes and stuff like that. At the end of the chat, Irish was saying you should film that. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna film it. I filmed it. I filmed it. I took your advice, Irish. I did film it. I have not edited it. I can never say that word slowly. I haven't done the editing on it yet. But it's low production, right? It's nothing special. I am kind of curious though if you guys are interested in what we do in the kitchen, because I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do in the kitchen is stuff that I've learned off of YouTube and websites. So, I mean, I have my own little flair to it. So I suppose it's okay if I start, redoing some of them. But we can a lot of things. The sweet pickled cauliflower was one of our best ones of recent. Absolutely love that. We're gonna be making a big old batch, hopefully in a week or so. Maybe even this weekend, I'm not exactly sure. But we're going to be doing that. I also make sauerkraut, which I did make a video for a while back, but the sauerkraut that I use is raw. It's just fermented lactobacteria. I don't remember the actual words for it. Yeah, thank you. Lactobacillus, which is really good for your stomach health and keeping all of the bacteria in check. Especially if you're going through like things like radiation or anything where antibiotics, because when antibiotics hit you, maybe not radiation, I don't know, it does help calm your stomach. But like if you're going through antibiotics, you need to replace the good bacteria because antibiotics kill good and bad bacteria. And usually people will tell you to take yogurt. And you can do that, but there's not nearly as much bacteria in yogurt because they pasteurize it as there is in homemade sauerkraut. But we preserve. Right now we're making black garlic, which, one thing I learned online, and the process is super simple. It just takes like a month, and we are in day 2 because we did the black garlic yesterday afternoon, or at least got it ready and put it in the dehydrator. It's got to sit in the dehydrator for a month, but supposedly that's going to be really, really good. As far as the dry aged steak, I kind of want to try another one. I kind of want to try to dry age my own and then have it right next to another one that wasn't dry aged. You know what I mean? Because I need to know more differences. I don't want to give away the video yet, but I want to see side by side comparison. The house smells like garlic. It does. But I don't mind garlic. It smells delicious every time I walk into the house. So that's good. All right, other than that, I think that's all the normal news. We might get in trouble tonight again, so I'm gonna try. If you don't see me on YouTube, because I don't have a Poison Stinger 3, if you don't see me on YouTube, check out D Live tomorrow. But I am curious what you guys think about the canning stuff, because if so, I might start making some videos on that. Because we're also looking into getting sous vide, which is a different way of cooking. It's a method of cooking that's really interesting to me. But we can't afford it right now. But eventually, maybe we can. Anyway, that's the news in the Stinger's house for the most part. Let's go. Michigan GOP State Senate report finds no DARFing in last November's event. Scott McCallum, the Center Square, the Michigan Senate, released a report which concludes it found no evidence of widespread or systematic DARFing in Michigan's prosecution of the thing that happened in November. Well, that's good. That's great, maybe. I think it's great. YouTube, I think it's amazing. See, this is why we have to have these investigations, to make sure it's all aboard. When did it come, wrong to question? I hate that shit. I will send you the log in my channel.
The login to this channel.
You want me to log into your channel?
Yeah, if you get banned.
Oh, I'm going to go to the Broken Patriot channel. Hey, man, special guest, right? I still think it'd be kind of fun to do a special guest thing, like in-house. Like, if I ever go see Irish, I want to do the evening catch-up at Irish's house. I might have to take my own damn computer and maybe my own internet. But I'd love to try it. Senate Oversight Chair Ed McBroom from that township released the report on Wednesday, spanning nearly 30 hours of public hearings, 87 eyewitnesses, and more than 400 pages of testimony. At this point, I feel confident to assert the results of the Michigan election are accurate, represented by the certified and audited results. Awesome. McBroom debunked 13 common accusations about what happened in November, including dead people getting to the polls, erroneous tabulators, and Erethreum County results and incidents at the TCF Center in Detroit. Congratulations. The report said Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and local clerks removed roughly 3,500 absentee ballots submitted by living voters who died before Election Day. The reports follow less than a week after hundreds of Republicans delivered 7,000 affidavits claiming bad things happened in November and demanding, accountability and somebody to look into it, which McBroom wrote is not justifiable based on his findings. McBroom recommended Attorney General Dana Nessel investigate Michiganders making misleading and incorrect information about Erethreum County to raise money or publicity for their own ends. For example, a crowdfunding website claims attorney Matthew DiPerno has led the charge in Antrim County and has raised $321,000 of a $1 million goal for the Darfine Defense Fund. McBroom described those people still promoting these horrible ideas to steal... McBroom described these people still promoting Antrim County horrible ideas to DARF the event that happened in November as in a position of zero credibility. There you go. They don't have any credibility. However, McBroom recommended providing live audio and recording feeds of audits posted online, along with 11 other recommendations. Some align with the 39 GOP voter bill McBroom says would secure vulnerabilities such as recording drop boxes. Benson responded with a statement issued by the Secretary of State office. The report confirms what 250 audits, numerous counts, countless election officials, and the majority of Michiganders already knew to be true. Our 2020 election was secure, and the results were accurate. The report is only noteworthy because it affirms this truth and comes from a committee chaired by a Republican legislator, but the fact that this is the case, that so few legislators have definitively stated the truth about what happened in November, says less about the report than it does the travesty and the peril of our current democracy. Benson agreed with some of the report recommendations to increase time for pre-processing absentee ballots and post-election canvasses, but said the report also contained inaccuracies that will likely be used to push the GOP voting bills that she deems voter suppression. My hope is that lawmakers and leaders change course and use the report as rationale to do what they should have done long ago, affirm the security and integrity of our events that happen in November every 4 years, cease their attempts to deceive citizens with misinformation, and abandon legislation based on the lies that undermined our democracy. Here's the thing. It doesn't undermine your democracy to make sure that one person, one vote. I cannot be convinced that showing ID at the polling place is suppression. Everybody has an ID. Shit, illegals have IDs. It's not that damn hard. You have to have an ID to do everything in this country, including buying spray paint and matches. State Minority Leader Jim Innick from Flint criticized Republicans for taking so long to arrive at a conclusion, finally arriving at a conclusion that the rest of the nation reached on November 7th would be not to earn any praise from me. For months, the Republican majority has given extremists a platform and a megaphone to spout unfounded, insidious lies about what happened. They have allowed their values, their words, their committees to be co-opted by a small group of vocal dissidents who could not and still cannot come to grips with the fact that their candidate lost. We can't turn back the clock now, but I do expect that history will forget how failing to stand up for the truth created lasting damage in our country, or will not forget. Sorry. I don't know. This is the only report I got to go on, so it is what it is. I'm still very shocked that Biden got more than Obama did in 08. What's up, Pre-Dawn? How you doing? I haven't checked your channel recently. You got any new shit? Went and got a banana milkshake today. Damn, it was good. Yeah, I bet it was. Now that's news, Banana Man. Or Banana. Yeah, definitely good news. Some illegals' IDs are better quality than mine. Trust me, I've seen them. I bet you have. I bet you have. How is it? I don't know. That's, I think, what the Republicans should really push. There's no turning back the clock on what happened in November. But if we can at least agree that it's not wrong to suggest that you have to have an ID, when you have to have more than an ID to buy a firearm, you have to go through a background check. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if your right to vote came with a background check? Boy, wouldn't they be pissed off on that one. Raffensperger, though, conducts a secret review of the paper stuff that you write your things on November, as whistleblowers are persecuted. Let's see. After several Fulton County, Georgia poll monitors testified last year that boxes of mail-in ballots for Joe Biden looked like they'd been run through a photocopy machine, state investigators quietly broke the seal on one suspicious box and inspected the hundreds of votes it contained for signs of dwarfing. At the same time, a key whistleblower told Real Clear Investigations that state investigators pressured her to recant her story about what she and other poll monitors had observed, what they called unusual, pristine mail-in ballots while sorting through them during last November's recount. I felt I was under investigation, said Susie Voiles, a longtime Fulton County poll manager whose sworn affidavits had been used by election watchdogs to sue the county for access to the ballots in question. Although the ballots are at the center of the dispute about Georgia's presidential race, which Joe Biden officially did win by 12,000 votes, the state never disclosed its probe into the public or to the election watchdogs suing to inspect the ballots. State officials also neglected to inform the judge hearing the lawsuit that they were conducting such an inspection, even though the judge had issued a protective order over the ballots in January. In a 9-page amicus brief recently filed in the case, attorneys for the Office of Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger urged Superior Court Judge Brian Amiro to deny petitioners' request to inspect the ballots, calling it a fishing expedition. Frances Watson, chief investigator for Secretary of State office, confirmed in a statement that she sent investigators to Fulton County earlier this year to inspect the batches of sealed ballots. Poll monitors involved in last November's hand recount had described the mail-in ballots in sworn affidavits as devoid of creases and folds and featuring identically bubbled-in marks for Biden. But the state said it could not find any ballots matching that description. Our investigators looked into it and didn't find anything, she said, while adding the investigation is still ongoing. The watchdogs questioned why state officials did not disclose their activities to the court and fear that they may have tampered with the sealed ballots, which are at the center of their lawsuit seeking access to all 147,000 absentee ballots cast during last November's event in Fulton County, which includes much of Atlanta. Led by longtime Georgia poll watcher Garland Favorito, founder of VoterGA.org, the court petitioners said the state has failed to inform the judge overseeing the case that they broke the chain of custody over the pallet of shrink-wrapped absentee ballots warehouse in a locked county and facility in Atlanta. If the Secretary of State office did that, they tampered with ballots and violated Georgia state law, which restricts the handling of ballots to authorized election officials involved in the tabulation and care of the ballots, Frito said. Frito also noticed that Judge Amaro had placed the ballots under a protective order in January. They would have had to ask for a court order to unseal and inspect those ballots, and they never did that. Raffensperger's office seemed to acknowledge the ballots were still under seal when it urged Amaro to prevent the watchdogs from inspecting the ballots. The security and confidentiality of ballots is to be strictly maintained, attorneys for Raffensperger argued in the brief they filed with Amaro in April, and the court should be cautious in granting petitioners access to the ballots that Georgia's law requires to remain under seal, which makes it a felony as soon as the petitioners were to lay hands on them. Raffensperger's office did not respond to questions about why it did not inform the court about its probe, although it acknowledged that this is the first time its inspection of the ballots, which began early in January. It has been publicly disclosed. Judge Amaro did not respond to requests for comment. Biden narrowly won Georgia thanks to a late-night tally of absentee ballots in Fulton and other Democratic strongholds. You know, the Biden bump. The revelation that state authorities have already unsealed and investigated the ballots in question is a new twist in the case that has seen the firing of poll managers who blew the whistle on suspicious ballots. A recent breach of security at a warehouse that Fulton County officials were supposed to be guarding around the clock, an 11-hour attempt by county officials to dismiss the court order inspection of those ballots, many of which came from Atlanta area drop boxes whose chain of custody documentation has mysteriously turned up missing. Turned up missing, did it? Wow, that's mysterious. Last month, Amaro ordered Fulton County to unseal its 147,000 absentee ballots and allow the petitioners to inspect them under certain restrictions. But the county filed a motion to dismiss the case. Amaro is expected to rule on the motion later this month. The issue is further muddied by Susie Voiles' allegation, never previously reported, that she was pressured to recant her testimony about the pristine ballots. In a sworn affidavit last November, Voiles said that she observed a large batch of mail-in ballots for Biden did not appear to have been folded or handled like she would have expected from her 2 decades of working elections in the county. She also said that the marks for Biden were identical, as though they had been filled out by a copy machine rather than a pen or a pencil. In a January 7th interview, which took place at a Secretary of State office in Atlanta, Boyle said an investigator identifying himself as Paul Braun grilled me for over 2 hours about her testimony. She said Braun was joined by another official from Georgia Bureau of Investigation. She added that the investigators did not have a copy of her affidavit and did not know the box number and batch numbers of the ballots in question. I smelled a rat when they didn't know the batch number when they were clearly denoted in my affidavit, Voiles said. She added the investigators gave no indication that they had gone to the warehouse to find the suspicious ballots or were conducting any kind of forensic investigation. Voiles said the investigators kept trying to convince her that she might have been mistaken about her observations. I did not recant, she asserted, that the ballots that I saw had been pre-printed. It's a very serious thing, in my opinion. That's what I swore to under penalty of perjury. Recanting would be perjuring myself. Watson claimed that Voiles stated that she may have been mistaken about a batch number and provided a different batch number. I never said that Voiles insisted. The second batch number provided by Miss Voiles did not exist, Watson added. Voiles contended she never provided any other batch numbers. Watson also revealed that investigators went to Fulton County and reviewed the batches identified by Mrs. Voiles, but found no ballots that looked as Mrs. Voiles described. Favortino said his group attorney plans to file a motion to depose Watson and Braun to understand exactly what investigators have done regarding the boxes of absentee ballots in question. Ferrito said she does not doubt that Voiles' testimony and said the ballot's images his group has reviewed support her account of anomalies. Ooh. So they have ballot images somewhere, and it supports her account. At no time has Susan Voiles claimed she was mistaken, Fertito said. She has consistently stood by her affidavit since she submitted it almost 7 months ago. Asked if Voiles is under criminal investigation, Georgia Secretary of State Communications Director Ari Shafford said, I have no reason to believe she's under investigation for perjury. Last December, Raffensperger condemned the unexplained firing of Voiles by Fulton County election officials and called on them to rehire her. Voiles is one of 4 Fulton County poll monitors who had signed affidavits swearing they observed the same pattern of irregularities. Yeah, and they weren't even around each other. And they're all swearing the same thing. Interesting. In stacks of mail-in ballots for Biden, all of them suggested the ballots had been photocopied. Ferritito did not vote for Trump. She said the state also had tried to interview one other witness, poll monitor Robin Hall, and said he himself is under investigation. He suggested state investigators are trying to intimidate witnesses into backing off their testimony and are more interested in investigating whistleblowers than finding evidence of DARFing. Schaffer said he was unsure whether the other affiants had been interviewed. I will have to check on the other 3 witnesses, he said. Ferretio, I can never pronounce that name, added that the discovery of hard evidence of DARFing in Georgia's largest county would be embarrassing for Raffensperger. The embattled never-Trump Republican is running for re-election with little support from the Georgia GOP, which recently censored him for creating opportunities for DARFing by agreeing to the relaxation of voting rules during the 2020 event in November. He is worried that we will uncover serious wrongdoing on the part of the Secretary of State and not just Fulton County, Tito said. Boyles pointed out that Raffensperger has been too quick to declare 2020 Georgia election free of DARFing. Most recently, he was blindsided by revelations that Fulton County election officials had misplaced the required chain of custody forms documenting the collection of almost 20,000 mail-in ballots. The ballots came from 36 largely unsupervised drop-off boxes. Raffensperger agreed to let Democratic-controlled Fulton County distribute across the Atlanta area ahead of the November 3rd event. New revelations that Fulton County is unable to produce all ballot drop box transfer documents will be investigated thoroughly, Raffensperger tweeted in June 14th, adding that Fulton County officials failed to follow state rules regarding boxes. This cannot continue. Boyle said Raffensperger's office is increasingly concerned about its pre-election decision to modify demands by Democratic voter right groups to make it easier to vote by absentee ballot. They are investigating us to divert attention from their constant agreement with the Democratic activist, Stacey Abrams, she said. We never should have had any drop boxes, she continued. We wouldn't have had a chain of custody problems and the other problems with absentee ballots if they hadn't put in those drop boxes. It was negligence. A lot of stuff going on. I don't have the latest stuff that's going on in Arizona, but my goodness. They had a butterscotch milkshake too. I bet it was good. Love me some DARFing. Yeah, me too. Well, I don't have a Poison Stinger 3 channel. All of your rights came with a background check. You know it. Shall not be infringed as long as you can pass a background check. Sounds like a plan to me. I think someone should be going to jail or prison just for contempt of court anyways. Maybe. All right. Hey, look who's finally going to go to the border. She's going to make her first visit to the southern border since becoming the czar. Vice President Harris on Friday will make her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border, her office announced, after she has faced criticism from members of both parties for failing to go there despite her alleged role leading the Biden administration response to a steep increase in migration. Harris will visit the El Paso area accompanied by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, according to a statement Wednesday from Harris senior advisor Simone Sanders. The visit comes as Harris has faced months of attacks from Republicans and even some frustration from those in her own party for declining to visit the area. Oh, and she got grilled when she went down to South America, didn't she? Was it South America or was it Mexico? I don't even know. Harris has been tasked by President Joe Biden with taking on the crisis, which has seen hundreds of thousands of illegals cross the border. Her aides have repeatedly insisted her focus is distinct from the security issues that plague the U.S. officials trying to handle a spike in border crossings. How about you finish the damn wall? Close the gaps. That might help. Both Harris and Biden have been absent on the crisis at the border. The issue overshadowed Harris's first foreign trip earlier this month to Guatemala and Mexico, where she met with both nations' presidents and local officials and advocates to discuss economic and humanitarian solutions to the significant out-migration from both countries. Yeah, can we give you more money? How about we give you more money? Maybe if we give you more money, you will stop sending your people here? What kind of stupid shit is this? And I love the local news media that grilled her ass, and there was signs and the whole bit. It was absolutely hilarious. Harris and the White House aides in Washington were forced to parry repeated questions from the press about why she left a border visit off the trip. Harris has noted that as a senator from California, she has visited the border in the past, and she has asserted that unless the root cause of migrations are addressed, the situation at the border will never be fixed. Don't tell them that you want them to come, first of all, because that's what Joe did. He said, hey, we want you all. Come on down. Don't do that. And fix the wall. You do those two things, and that is going to make illegal immigration go down quite a bit. On her visit to Guatemala and Mexico this month, she urged Central Americans not to try to reach the U.S. border. She tried to give people a sense of hope that it would encourage them to stay home. U.S. Customs and Border Protection recorded more than 180,000 encounters on the Mexican border in May. In May. Not since he's been president. In May. The most since March 2000. Harris' trip will come just days before former President Trump is set to visit the border next week with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Trump is going to visit the border with the governor of Texas next week. Oh, that should be fun. Republican Representative Jim Banks of Indiana and about a dozen members of the Conservative Republican Study Committee he leads will also join the trip. Trump immediately took credit for Harris's trip, of course he did, speculating in a statement that the vice president would not have made plans to go if Trump hadn't been headed there himself. Okay, so he supposedly made plans to go to the border before she did. Okay, good. Because he's that fucking important. I think someone should be going to jail or prison for the contempt of court anyways. Looking at the Texas is saying, screw you to the feds and will build the wall themselves. Yeah, we'll see. I hope so. I think that, I'm not sure how, is there any gaps in Arizona? I mean, there's still California, and I have no idea. It would be a lot harder to finish it in California. This is some good news-ish. It's not really good news, but it's nice that people are taking a stand. That's what I mean. It's nice to see people taking a stand. 150 employees have been fired or quit after a Houston hospital issued a shot mandate. Gotta love Texas. More than 150 employees at a Houston hospital system resigned or were fired after they were told to get the sniffle shot to keep their jobs. Didn't Texas pass a thing where you couldn't? No, I think that was Florida, right? Maybe Texas didn't pass that law. But maybe Texas should think about passing that law that you can't fire somebody for not getting it. Yes, big gaps in Arizona. I wouldn't doubt it. Arizona might fix the gaps. Maybe. New Mexico is also going to be difficult because they're a liberal state. In April, Houston Methodist became one of the first hospital systems in the country to impose a shot mandate for its employees. By June 7th, most of the hospital employees have complied, but the 178 people who refused to receive the shot were suspended for 2 weeks. 25 of the employees who were suspended decided to get the shot and return to work. Of the 153, either resigned or were terminated on Tuesday, according to Washington Post. Several employees filed a lawsuit against Houston Methodist over the mandate, arguing the rule of force. Employees to be human guinea pigs is a condition for continued employment. However, the lawsuit was dismissed by a federal judge earlier this month. This is not a coercion, U.S. District Judge Lynn Hughes wrote. Methodist is trying to do their business of saving lives without giving them the sniffles. It's a choice made to keep staff, patients, and their families safer. The former employees behind the lawsuit have already appealed the judge's dismissal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm hoping if we win this at a federal level, then they're going to create laws to protect employees from having to go through this anywhere else in the country, said Jennifer Bridges, a former nurse with the hospital who has led the plaintiff in the lawsuit, is the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit. Well, as I said, I don't think this is the mark of the beast, but it's a good litmus test, right? If you don't get the shot, then you can't work. At least not at that hospital. Well, no, it's just that hospital, okay? It's not everywhere. You could go get a job doing something else. Okay, but what happens when that job makes it a mandated thing and you have to get it or you're fired? Well, then you can go get a job somewhere else. Okay, then I go there. And then they mandate it. At some point, it's going to be mandated countrywide. Yeah, the government is not going to make you do it, but they're not going to stop companies from mandating it and you losing your job if you don't do it. And at some point, the government might just like, yeah, we got way too many people that are self-employed. You're going to have to get it too, because we got most people inoculated now. Bridges said that every one of the hospital employees who refused to comply with the shot mandate knew that doing so would cost them their jobs. But she called the resistance a necessary effort. Yep. Resisting this is not going to be easy. Resisting anything like this in the future is not going to be easy. Do you have what it takes to resist? I hope you guys do. Especially you guys that watch my shit, Stand up. Rise up. Don't allow it. And if you get fired, so fucking be it. We all knew we were getting fired today, she said. We knew unless we took that shot to come back, we were getting fired today. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah. I'm afraid AZ is too blue now to fix the gaps. No, I don't think so. I've seen the gap. Well, in Arizona, southern Arizona, it's pretty blue. But, I don't know. Ducey seems like he's trying to get reelected. Just... big gaps in the main Canada borders. I bet there is. Just take a look at the East Grand Lake, LOL. What happened when the hospital doesn't have enough staff to stay open? Good question. I mean, that's 153, right? 153 people. That's a big number. I don't know how many people work there. Did it say? It might have said. Yeah, I don't think it said. All right. We got some gun control news for you. So I'm going to let Mr. Guns and Gadgets here talk about that.
Well, here on the screen is today's announcement. It says President Biden believes that the surge in gun violence that has affected communities across the country over the last year and a half is unacceptable. And his administration is moving decisively to act with a whole of government approach as we enter the summer months when cities typically experience a spike in violence. Today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing a comprehensive strategy to combat gun violence and other violent crime. This strategy implements preventative measures that are proven to reduce violent crime and attacks the root cause, including by addressing the flow of firearms used to commit crimes. Guys, I'll tell you what stops violent crime: keeping violent criminals in jail. Don't go easy on them. Don't give them 75 bites at the apple. If you want to commit a violent crime, you're going to do the time. That has a direct correlation to reducing crime. I've seen it happen myself in different parts of the country. Get tough on violent criminals. And I'm not saying, somebody who steals this little paper pad it needs to be going away forever. They do violent crime, they need to do the time. But I digress. We'll continue. It says, combined, the administration's comprehensive strategy will stem the flow of firearms used to commit violence, including by holding rogue firearm dealers accountable for violating federal laws, support local law enforcement with federal tools and resources to help address summer violent crime. This will be part of the scenario to test the Second Amendment sanctuaries. Invest in evidence-based community violence interventions, expanding summer programming, employment opportunities, and other services and supports for teenagers and young adults. I don't know, maybe stop paying people to stay home. That might help there. And help formerly incarcerated individuals successfully re-enter their communities. So it goes into how much crime is skyrocketing in certain parts of the country and it's directly correlated to more criminals on the street and soft attempts at fighting crime in the mostly Democratic-run cities. It's just a fact. So we'll go into the first part of the flow of firearms used to commit violence. So Bobo and his crew are establishing a zero tolerance for rogue gun dealers that willfully violate the law.
Gun dealers do
now,
you
I
know?
will say that I am in no way advocating for FFLs or anybody else to break the law. But what I will say is that, and I've read this, it's not taking into account,
I mean, you don't need
if
to
somebody
answer that.
lies on their 4473, they're committing a felony. They could still get around that and still get a gun, like Hunter Biden, and this program would hold the FFL liable because they should have known that this person was lying on their 4473, and as a result, let me continue. Gun dealers across the country are regulated by federal law that is enforced by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Dealers that fail to comply with their obligations under the law create risk to all of us. Today, the Justice Department is announcing a new policy to underscore zero tolerance for willful violations of the law by federally licensed firearms dealers that put public safety at risk. Nope, we're not going to hold the Hunter Bidens accountable. We're going to go after those FFLs who should have known that this person was lying. Absent extraordinary circumstances that would...
So if you lie on your background check, they're going to get in trouble. That seems messed up.
need to be justified by the director, ATF will seek to revoke the licenses of dealers the first time that they violate federal law by willfully, 1, transferring a firearm to a prohibited person, aka Hunter Biden, 2, failing to run a required background check, 3, falsifying records such as a firearms transaction form, like the ATF did under running guns under Fast and Furious, 4, failing to respond to an ATF tracing request, or 5, refusing to permit ATF to conduct an inspection in violation of the law. Of course, the ATF will tell those folks who have had their license stripped how they can get rid of the rest of their inventory legally. Remember, you have options, not just the ATF's way. There are multiple options under the law that you should be aware of. Just saying, but we'll continue. They want to maximize the efficacy of ATF resources to crack down on rogue gun dealers violating our laws. Guys and gals, this is not causing any problems in the U.S. There might be one gun dealer, maybe 2, and they should be jammed up. But the problem is criminals. Criminals violate the law. They don't follow the law. You can make as many laws as you want. They'll continue to violate them because they don't care. I don't know why that needs to be said. The administration continues to call on Congress to increase funding for ATF to hire additional personnel necessary to violate your rights. To increase the number of inspections and enforcement actions taken against dealers in violation of federal law. And then it says the president's fiscal year 22 budget has asked for enough people to add staff to every field office. Better coordination with state and local officials with on-the-ground knowledge of which dealers are supplying firearms that show up at crime scenes. ATF has designated a specific point of contact in every field division for mayors, police chiefs, or other local leaders to report concerns about dealers' compliance with the law. Formalizing the use of data-driven prioritization of inspection resources. I'll sum this up for you. If they have a lot of guns sold by ex-FFL that end up used in crime, that would be data that would drive the ATF to inspect that FFL, especially, and it's magnified if they look at the time from when it was purchased to when the crime was committed. Again, the criminal is the problem. Now, this also is the first part where they're going to say, oh yeah, you're a Second Amendment sanctuary, right? What's the deal with this FFL stuff? Like, you going to give us this information? That's going to be the test. The first test here, there's a couple in this program. They also want to equip states that have their own gun dealer licensing systems with data from ATF inspections. 16 states license or regulate firearms dealers themselves, and their inspection systems can be force multipliers in protecting public safety. Starting next month, ATF will begin sharing inspection data with these states so that officials there can determine whether to take their own steps to shut down dealers that fail to live up to their obligation under state law. And here is a direct challenge to the Second Amendment sanctuaries, the Second Amendment Preservation Acts, and the laws that have been signed across the country That's the next one here. Launching multi-jurisdictional firearms trafficking strike forces. The Biden-Harris administration recognizes that the federal government has a critical role to play in coordinating multi-jurisdictional enforcement efforts to stop the illegal flow of firearms across state lines, unless they're doing it themselves. See Fast and Furious. Yesterday, the Justice Department announced it will be launching 5 new law enforcement strike forces focused on addressing significant firearms trafficking corridors that have diverted guns to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, the California Bay Area, and Washington, D.C. These strike forces, which will launch within the next 30 days, will be led by designated U.S. attorneys who will coordinate not only with ATF, but with state and local law enforcement partners. There's another test to those sanctuaries in places where firearms originate and where they are used to commit crimes. Strike forces will share information and otherwise coordinate their efforts across districts where firearms trafficking schemes cross state or jurisdictional boundaries. As part of this effort, ATF is issuing the best practices guide for law enforcement agencies that will include specific questions that officers should ask unlawful firearm possessors to help identify sources of trafficked crime guns. The next part I want to talk to you about is stemming the proliferation of ghost guns and modified firearms. During the April address in the Rose Garden by the President and Attorney General, the Justice Department announced that it was beginning the rulemaking process to help stop the proliferation of dangerous firearms that are currently circumventing our gun laws. The Justice Department has since issued 2 proposed rules to follow through on this commitment. First, the Justice Department issued a proposed rule to help address the proliferation of ghost guns that are increasingly ending up at crime scenes and often cannot be traced by law enforcement due to the lack of serial numbers.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. The hospitals then shut down, screw the other hospital. Okay, Clinton gave us the background checks. I do remember that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not really happy with Ross Perot. I believed in Ross Perot. I was going to vote for Ross Perot. I ended up voting for Bill Clinton. Because I didn't like Bush. Bush said no new taxes, read my lips. And then he fucking did that, right? And I didn't like that shit. And it was the first time I got to vote in my adult life. And I did like Ross Perot, but then he backed out, and then he came back in. And basically what Ross Perot did is he split the vote. So him and Bush split the conservative vote, and that's why we got Bill Clinton, in my opinion. I might be remembering that wrong. It used to be you could go in, fill out the paperwork, pay for it, and take it with you. What paperwork are you talking about, Gerald B.? That saved about 20 minutes on the time. I don't know what paperwork you had to fill out. Now, I didn't buy a gun before background checks were a thing. So I have no idea. Let me know. What kind of paperwork did you have to fill out before you had to get a background check? Because that, to me, seems like you shouldn't have had anything. You should have just been able to walk in, buy it, and walk out. Now, here in Arizona, it doesn't take me long. I do have to get a background check done, but I have a strange name, so, you know, it doesn't take long. It's like 10 minutes, maybe. It's not that long. And Arizona is constitutional carry state, so I walk out with it immediately if I buy one like that, which I haven't bought one like that in a long time. The DD4473, what the hell was that? Okay, hold up. Was that a background check before a background check? We need to get back to that thing, though, for sure, because there's some more important stuff. Firearms transition record, Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco. It's Wikipedia. Why not? A 6-page from prescribed by the Bureau, required to be completed when a person proposes to purchase a firearm. Federal firearm license holders contains the purchaser's name, address, date of birth, government-issued photo ID, National Instant Criminal Background System, with the NICS check. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to go into it too much. It wasn't just to buy your gun before the background check? That's kind of bullshit.
Second, the Justice Department issued a proposed rule to make clear when a device marketed as a stabilizing brace effectively turns a pistol into a short-barreled rifle, subject to the requirements of the National Firearms Act. Modifying a pistol with an arm brace can make a firearm more stable and accurate while still being concealable.
More stable and accurate? Oh.
So I guess the ATF wants firearms to be less accurate and less stable.
Pretty much.
Of course they would, because then they would say they're extremely dangerous and they all should be banned. That will segue perfectly into an update on our numbers for the comments. Here you can see the definition of frame or receiver and identification of firearms. Currently sits at 73,764 comments.
Definition of a frame or a receiver. They're redefining what a firearm is. You know how you have to fill out a background check just on the lower of your AR-15? Well, that's not technically a firearm because it doesn't house the bolt. So a lot of people are getting out of that when like the ATF goes after people who aren't supposed to have firearms and they have an AR-15 lower, and they're winning their case because it doesn't meet the definition of a firearm. And so they're trying to redefine that right now. By the way, if you had to do paperwork, you might as well. I mean, if it's got your name, your address, probably the gun you bought, and the serial number you bought it with. So yeah, if you do a crime, you might not have to do a background check. You might have been able to do it as a felon. But at the same time, they know what you got. It was still unconstitutional then, apparently. When was it where you... I know back in before the 30s, you could buy a Tommy gun in a like a hardware store. I kind of want to know when the first kind of infringements on that was. I know about, not being able to have a fully automatic, but what happened? When was it that you started having to fill out paperwork at all? Where you couldn't just go and buy a revolver. When was it when I could go in to buy a revolver this day without doing just like, can I have that revolver? Here's some money. Okay, great. I'll take my revolver and go. Versus, can I have that revolver? You have to fill out this paperwork. When was that?
Received, guys, we really, really need to pump those up. We really do. Factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces, that now sits at 102,903. A little bit better, but still way, way behind where it should be. If there's 10 to 40 million of these on the market, there should be at least that. I mean, half of that.
People are getting tired of this bullshit.
Yeah, just make a comment. Get your friends to make a comment. And here's another attempt to break down those Second Amendment sanctuaries. Again, they're going to test local and state law enforcement. They're going to provide law enforcement the tools and resources needed to tackle gun violence. As part of the Justice Department's comprehensive strategy for reducing violent crime, the Justice Department is committed to supporting law enforcement in local communities in addressing gun violence in preparation for a possible increase in violence typically seen over the summer months. Where needed and appropriate, the Justice Department is providing the following law enforcement support. The FBI is making available cutting-edge analytical resources to support state and local law enforcement efforts to identify the most violent offenders and most dangerous criminal organizations in the communities. Guys and gals, the local and state police should be doing that already if they're good at their job. And the FBI will also deploy agents to assist with enforcement operations targeting these entities. Here you go, rubber meets the road. Will your county stand up to being a Second Amendment sanctuary? Will your local sheriff stand up to being a local sanctuary? We're going to see. The ATF will also embed themselves with local homicide units.
Subscribers he has, he'd have
big
better
friggin' deal. The DEA is focused at its efforts to coordinate with state, local, and tribal law enforcement to disrupt activities. Again, a big friggin' deal. But these are multiple attempts at breaking down the Second Amendment sanctuaries because we're over 61% of the counties in America now are Second Amendment sanctuaries. And the U.S. Marshal Service will also coordinate with state and local authorities for fugitive sweeps throughout the country, focused on individuals subject to state or local warrants for homicide, aggravated assault with a firearm, aggravated robbery, robbery with a firearm, rape, or aggravated sexual assault. Now, I'll have a link in the description to this announcement. It's on the White House website right now. And if you want to continue to read, they go through how they're going to have these community-based, evidence-based partnerships, which, hey, maybe they have some value. Maybe, I don't think they will. It's just diverting where the money should go, I guess, if they're really concerned with putting criminals away. But yeah, it'll be down there for you to read. Let me know what you think down below. This is the first attempt at the Biden administration to test the testicular fortitude of those counties, cities, towns, and states that have said we're a Second Amendment sanctuary and there won't be any of that unconstitutional gun control here. Well, here's an attempt at Biden to throw money at them and see if they crack. This comes days after they went after Missouri on their Second Amendment Sanctuary Act. I have that video floating above as well. Let me know what you guys and gals think down below.
All right. Yeah, okay. They started the paperwork back in the 60s, did they? I know my grandfather bought his 30-06 from a Sears mail order, and they shipped it to his door. Yeah, I've heard those stories. Where, Ron Paul was a statesman, right? An actual statesman. Did we not? He was like the last one. I think Rand Paul was, kind of close, but Rand Paul's pretty good. We have like one good statesman in Congress. I think he's Congress or Senate. I'm not sure. We have one that's decent. Did we have more back in the 60s? Why didn't anybody say, you know what, this is unconstitutional. It says shall not be infringed. Pisses me off. Yeah, that was in 62. Sears sold everything mail order, even houses. Yes, they did. Sears was the mail order Amazon. Yes, it was. Hell, I got my 22 Magnum from JCPenney. Wow. JCPenney don't sell firearms now. Condensed history of gun background checks if anyone's interested. Oh, that is kind of cool. I'll probably look at that later. Not today, or not right now anyway. All right. There's a story that Riddle sent me. White people are charged reparation fees in order to attend a pride event since it's for black and brown trans gay community and city officials support it. White people will be charged a reparations fee to participate in Seattle's gay pride event since it's focused on black and brown members of the trans and queer community. And the city council president and the local human rights commission support the fee. Wow. Talking Black Pride, organizers said all are welcome to attend Saturday's event, but noted that white allies and accomplices must fork over a reparations fee between $10 to $50. Depends on how white you are, I guess. All are free to attend, however. This is a black and brown, queer, trans-centered, prioritized, valued event, and notification from Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network reads, the safety of black and brown, trans, and queer folks is paramount, and we will make sure the safety of our community is prioritized at all times. White allies and accomplices are welcome to attend, but will be charged a $10 to $50 reparations fee and given a wristband as proof of payment. That will be used to keep this event free of cost for black and brown. So they get in free, you got to pay, and queer community, but also to ensure that performers can get paid as well. So what happens if no white people show up? If you're letting all the browns and blacks in for free and only charging the whites, I'm sure there's going to be a few whites, but I'm sure there's going to be quite a few who are like, I don't think so. I mean, I want to support you, but that seems like kind of bullshit. They got in for free. I hope. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll just pay it happily. I don't know. Rance added that the reparations fee will be charged based on one's ability to pay. Oh, okay. In addition, he wrote that since the event is being held in Jimi Hendrix Park, which the city owns, there are questions concerning the legality of the fee. It is racist. According to Rance, Seattle Parks and Recreation explicitly prohibits racial discrimination in their parks, and it applies to event organizers using the park with or without a permit. He cites Seattle's Municipal Code 1812-280. Pushback from the LGBTQ leaders over the fee. Capitol Hill Pride Rally and March leaders Charlotte Lefevre and Philip Lipson, who actually banned gay and straight police officers from attending their event, that's bullshit, complained about the reparations fee to the Seattle Human Rights Commission, arguing that it's reverse discrimination in violation of local and federal anti-discrimination laws, Rance reported. But Rance said the SHRC wasn't buying it. Black, trans, and queer peoples are among the most marginalized and persecuted peoples within the I'm not going to read all that community. And the SHRC wrote back to Lefree and Lipson. They often face shame, not only from the cis heteronormative community, but within the queer community is large as well. In making the event free for the black queer community, the organizers of this event are extending a courtesy so rarely extended by providing a fee and a safe space to express joy, share story, and be in in a community. Rance added that the Seattle City Council President and mayoral candidate Lorena Gonzalez was offended by Lever and Lipson so much that she canceled her scheduled appearances at a Capitol Hill Pride. After a year that has taken an unbelievable toll on all of our communities, I was looking forward to this opportunity to celebrate Pride in person, Gonzalez tweeted, according to Rants. However, I simply cannot support an organization that is trying to stop black people in LGBTQ plus community from celebrating Pride in a manner that they choose. Talking Black Pride rips Capitol Hill Pride. Black Pride blasted the audacity of the Capitol Hill Pride over complaints about reparations fee, noting that this isn't the first time such a fee had been charged. Our allies, supporters, and accomplices pay our sliding scale donation reparations because they are able to understand that as folks with privilege, equality can start with making sure that people who possess various levels of marginalization are able to have spaces that center their needs, safe identities, and contributions to LGBT culture. Taking Black Pride wrote in a statement, "We ask our white supporters, allies, and accomplices to deeply consider their privilege and make a contribution that feels equitable for them. They often choose to pay more than what is asked or volunteer with the event." Talking Black Pride also argued that reverse racism doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, everybody, and that black and brown LGBT folks do not possess the institutional power or enforcement of that power to be racially oppressive to white folks. Because that's what racism is. It's not if you are, it's because you're white and the system was white and started as white. Therefore, that's why you're racist. They can't be because they're not in power. You're in power. We encourage vendors, performers, and candidates to boycott Capitol Hill Pride and not support any event that would contribute to white supremacy violence against blacks and brown LGBTQ folks. The statement added, "Your community is watching." So I'm guessing they're doing 2 Pride events. I think I might have missed that. I think it's 2 Pride events. One decided to do another one because of the reparations, I'm guessing. Taking Black Pride also slammed Lever, saying her actions are no different from the actions of perpetrators of any other Karen-like incident. She has decided to use her power and privilege as a white passing woman to elicit an emotional response and a dangerous reaction from people like herself in order to create an unsafe and potentially life-threatening conditions for black and brown LGBTQ folks. The group added the affair acted out of entitlement and casual violence because she was mad and felt that her hurt feelings gave her the right to make black and brown trans folks, sick and disabled folks, sex workers, migrants, elders, youth, and communities already under constant threat of violence and criminalization pay with their safety and potentially their lives. This is not okay. Such is the facility. I'm done with this story. There you go. Reparations. There's a gay Av here. Where you're at now? Shoot, man, there's a gay Av everywhere. And it might have been there before all this shit, to be honest. Just because it says gay doesn't mean it's homosexually gay. Gay used to mean happy. So, I mean, happy and gay. Happy and happy, which is really weird. Happy and gay. But gay means happy. I don't know. Whatever. DeSantis signs a bill to require teaching students that communism is evil. So in southern Africa, white men farmers are oppressed because they are not in power and targeted because of their skin. Guess whites can be threatened by racism by their definition. Yeah. We don't want... Wait. We don't want to talk about that. No. We need to see about our own damn country. What's up? I seen a camp road called GOA Way. That's cool. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a trio of bills on Tuesday to improve civic literacy throughout the states and make sure students are taught the evils of communism. That's kind of cool. It is crucial to ensure that we teach our students how to be responsible citizens, DeSantis said during a press conference. They need to have a good working knowledge of American history, American government, and the principles that underline our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. These 3 bills address the public school system's curricula. HB 5 requires that Florida Department of Education create a K-12 civic curriculum that includes the understanding of the rights and responsibilities guaranteed by the Constitution, as well as understanding the evils of communism and totalitarian ideologies. I can't see. HB 233 requires colleges and universities to ask professors annually about their political beliefs to assess the status of intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity. And SB 1108 requires state colleges and universities to take civil literacy courses and complete a civic literacy assignment as a requirement for graduation. We have a number of people in Florida, particularly southern Florida, who have escaped totalitarianism regimes, who have escaped communist dictatorships to be able to come to America, DeSantis said. We want all students to understand the difference. Why would somebody flee across shark-infested water, say leaving from Cuba to come to southern Florida, he continued. Why would somebody leave a place like Vietnam? Why would people leave these countries and risk their life to be able to come here? It's important students understand that. That's really well said. The new civic literacy bills follows a push from DeSantis and other Florida Republicans to ban critical race theory from the public school system. I don't want to move to Florida, but if I did, I'd be pretty happy right now. The new rule passed by Florida Board of Education earlier this month does not explicitly mention CRT, critical race theory, but does combat the narratives associated with it. No child should be classified as a victim or oppressor based on their race or ethnicity, DeSantis' office said in a statement. Race essentialism in any form is destructive, especially in a diverse society where each person should be judged only by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Quoting King.
It turns out that there is a silver lining to the dark cloud that's been hanging over America's schools for the last year, which...
Am I the only one sick of the rate baiting, or am I just showing my privilege? I hate low IQ idiots as we as a nation are devolving into. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if you watched this Mark Dice video yet or not, or if you watch him at all, but this is a good one. I agree with you there, Anonymous. I'm getting really sick and tired of that shit myself. But there's always, every time you think you're the only one that has a brain, sometimes you've shown that other people have a brain too. And this is a great example of that.
It turns out that there is a silver lining to the dark cloud that's been hanging over America's schools for the last year, which force students to stay at home and engage in virtual learning, which is a literal waste of time and stunting their academic and emotional growth. That is, parents got to actually listen in to the lessons and got to hear what it is that some of these teachers were indoctrinating their children with. Many parents are understandably upset about the systemic anti-white racism that's being spread through the form of critical race theory and Black Lives Matter propaganda, not to mention people's new problems with pronouns. Parents like the ones who showed up to this school board meeting in Virginia last night. It's not just the parents who are fed up with this foolishness. Many of the kids sense that there's something wrong with the teachers who constantly complain about America.
Look how many parents gave a shit.
Many of them also have a very good grasp of what it is that's actually happening, like this high school freshman.
Hi, my name is Brad Taylor, and I just finished my freshman year at RHS. I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years, and I'm going to give you a glimpse today of what's actually going on inside these schools. Despite the board's attempt to deny it, District 196 schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. I'll take you back to my first day at RHS this fall. The principal came out and gave us a heartfelt speech about equality and standing together. He began to list countless races, such as Latino, Asian, expressing how much they matter and how important they are. But never once did he mention a race or identity that reflects me, or half the kids that were in the class. To be clear, I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but hearing the condolences given to other races and leaving just one race out, it inevitably you'll start to feel like you've done something wrong. And in our principal's attempt to unify us, he instead created unwarranted boundaries and barriers between his students, pitting us against each other based on characteristics that we can't control. In another separate instance, I was told that writing "All Lives Matter" on the whiteboard was political and could be seen as offensive. When I questioned the teacher after class, she told me that she didn't have an answer and she just had to erase it, and it was quickly erased. There are political signs all over RHS, about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter, and specific perspectives that matter. But when I questioned the RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. And when I asked why that was, they told me, quote, "Whites have a pretty good situation right now," unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin. I've been approached by multiple teachers who have told me in private that they just want to say that they agree with me and they support me standing up, but they can't say it in front of the class for fear of being disciplined by the administration in some way or losing their jobs. Now, due to all these instances I've mentioned and many more that I can't fit in this 5-minute speech, I've decided to leave this district and continue school on a private Christian school online. And there will be sacrifices, and I will not get to walk in the graduation ceremony or attend milestones at RHS, but I will be able to learn in an environment that is not intent on punishing me daily for my skin color and political views. Now, regardless of how you take my speech, whether you just shrug it off as malarkey or Fox News talking points, I encourage you to think about it, because someday I'm going to be a leader. I may be the president, a governor, or just a professional golfer, but I will never stop believing that everybody has value, no matter their skin color or personal beliefs. And it's a shame that you're not going to be able to say that I was an alumni of RHS in District 196. Thank you.
No, he didn't.
Well, it gets even better. Here's a 9-year-old girl telling off her school board in...
Hold up. As soon as I hear someone claim their race, religion, gender, sexual preferences, or politics means they are victims, I instantly realize how low IQ, and I never engage. I need more parents to give a shit and do something, you know? Guess that's a good plan. Divide and conquer has never went away, just went full force and let us destroy ourselves. Yes, that is totally true. Race, segregation never ended. It never ended. They just made us segregate ourselves. They've been pushing this. You look at, I forget the name of it, Operation Mockingbird or whatever, where, you know, the CIA is infiltrating news organizations to make sure that, you know, the government is put in a decent light or whatever. I don't know all the terms on that. But you got that. Whole bunch of shit. Anyway. We are a tribal mindset, yeah. I think back in the 90s, in the late 90s-ish, I think we were pretty good. Now, I wasn't around a lot of people of color at the time, but I mean, I'm judging this off the friends that I kept, and I did have some really good black friends in high school, and everybody was happy with everybody. There was no talk about this shit, right? And if somebody called one of our friends an N-word or something, it never happened, but if it had to happen, I'm sure we all would have stood up for that guy. Right? Why does it seem worse today than it was in the 90s? Now, that's not everywhere. That was just my experience. Right? My experience. Now, obviously, there's the shit that was going on in California and the Rodney King and all that stuff. And that's valid shit. It just seems a lot worse today than it was back then. Purple for Parents is a great organization. They fight for parents' rights against indoctrination. That's cool. I never let anyone talk to me about race or school me on divisive points. I just understand that they have a limited education and a worldview, sad but true. I engage a little bit. If all they're coming at me with is talking points from CNN or whatever news organization they watch, I'm done. If all they have is Fox News talking points as a conservative, I don't know what to tell. I mean, I try to sow the seeds. You know, I'll try, but there's only so much you can do, right? Somebody who watches Fox News all the time, they're just as indoctrinated as somebody who watches CNN all the time.
Minnesota.
The other day I was walking down the hallway at Lakeview Elementary School to give a teacher a retiring gift. I looked up onto the wall and saw a BLM poster and an Amanda Gorman poster. In case you don't know who that chick is, she's some girl who did a poem at Biden's so-called inauguration. I was so mad. I was told 2 weeks ago at this very meeting spot, no politics in school. I believed what you said at this meeting. So at lunch I went up to my principal to tell him about the BLM poster and that I wanted it down. It is a political message about getting rid of police officers, rioting, burning buildings down while King Governor Welch just sits on his throne and watches. We all know. I am 9 years old and I know that. Get the posters out of our schools. Courage is contagious, so be courageous.
I'm pretty sure that girl's gonna grow up to be a senator someday, and possibly after that, the president of the United States. And when that time comes, she's gonna have a lot of work to do because the Democrats are probably gonna completely destroy America by then. We are well on our way to bankruptcy, as you know, and now with old Joe making Juneteenth another federal holiday, that makes 44 paid days off for federal employees.
Hey, hold up. Congress under Obama administration signed and nullified the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, which explicitly forbids information and psychological operations aimed at influence U.S. public opinion. Well, I don't know a lot about that, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn at one time, and I feel like I'm pretty educated now. Yeah, I mean, at least since 1960 or 1975, at the very least. I don't pretend to know all the ins and outs of these things, but yeah, you're being indoctrinated all the time. And they want you to watch the news all the time. That's why they have 24-hour news. We had about a 50-50 black and white in my high school, all walks of life. Valedictorian was a black girl who went on to be a doctor. The poor kids seemed more divided than the rich. Yeah, they're not only dividing you by your race, but they're dividing you by your class. And I think the race thing is not going so well. To be honest, I see a lot of people in everyday life that aren't falling for that shit. Every once in a while, walking around, I'll see a mask that says I can't breathe. Or every once in a while, I'll see a BLM mask. The funny thing is, the BLM masks are usually on white chicks. But the I can't breathe is usually on black dudes. Right? So there's a few of those. But so many times I can have a great conversation with a person, no matter what their color is, and we're just having a good time talking. You know? So I think the race thing, maybe it's gaining ground now. They're definitely pushing it, but I hope that it's failing. But I do worry that the poor versus the middle class versus the rich, mostly the poor versus the rich versus the middle class, and they see the middle class as rich too. So I think that's going to have a big something to do. After that, they went full force dividing propaganda. It's been all downhill ever since. The girl is going places. In my high school, we had about 5 black people total. Damn. Well, have you always lived in Maine? Because, I mean, that would explain it.
Every year.
44.
They literally get a month and a half of
off.
paid
Month and a half
vacation
off.
days every single year. But the Marxists who love growing the government and living off of the government will never be happy. For example, an IKEA location in Atlanta, Georgia is under fire for having a special menu to commemorate Juneteenth because it included
I think
fried
the rest
chicken
of this is,
and water.
The rest of this is just people getting in trouble for having fried chicken and watermelon at their picnics for black people. So I'm going to skip the rest of that. Propaganda is now legal on U.S. citizens. Chew on that. Well, I knew that for a long time, Anonymous, but I agree. Not even Trump backrolled that. No, why not control your population via propaganda? It's the best wars are won without rounds. Yep. That's why everybody was so happy to go to war all the time. We just got to make sure the American people believe that we're fighting for freedom or looking for weapons of mass destruction. I went to Orono High School. I don't know what that is. Is that a city? Is that a town? It's definitely not a state. New York City to remove the Teddy Roosevelt statue from the museum over colonial subjugation. A prominent statue of Theodore Roosevelt at the entrance of the American Museum of Natural History will be removed after years of criticism that it symbolizes colonial subjugation and racial discrimination. Well, I'm glad me and Riddle saw it before they're going to take it down. The New York City Public Design Commission voted unanimously Monday to relocate the statue, which depicts the former president on horseback with a Native American man and an African man flanking the horse, according to the New York Times. The newspaper said the statue will go to yet be designated cultural institution dedicated to Roosevelt's life and legacy. The bronze statue has stood at the museum's Central Park West entrance since 1940. Objections to the statue grew more forceful in recent years, especially after the murder of George Floyd, and that sparked a wave of protests. Yes, we all know that. In June 2020, museum officials proposed removing the statue. The museum is on a city-owned property, and Mayor de Blasio supported removal of the problematic statue. Museum officials said that they were pleased with the commission's vote in prepared statement emailed Wednesday and thanked the city. There you go. Poor Teddy Roosevelt. He was one of the most beloved presidents, too. Was he a Democrat? I don't know if he was. It is funny, though. A lot of the statues they're trying to remove are all Democrats. Just about every one of them. Orono is a city in Maine. Okay. Ohio. In my high school, we had one black middle school kid and one high school black guy. The one black high school kid lived across from me in my hometown, and we were and are best friends. See what I'm saying? Because it didn't fucking matter, man. It did not fucking matter. We were brought up like, that guy's just the same as you. And half the time, they were cool as shit. When I grew up in Maricopa, which is south of Phoenix, and mostly Indian res. But we had a multitude of African Americans and Indians. And they made fun of me relentlessly. Like, I was the fat kid, right? So they picked on me like crazy. So growing up through middle school, I did not like them very much. In fact, I would consider myself a little bit extreme on not liking them. It was when I went to high school, to a Christian school, boarding school, as I said. When I got there, this big black junior comes up to me, and I'm about to shit my pants. You know what I'm saying? And he is the nicest motherfucker I have ever met. And he showed me around and talked to me and told me all about what's going on there and stuff. And I remember that to this day. That guy is when I decided that I wasn't prejudiced against anybody based on that. I just didn't like assholes. Kids are not born racist. They're indoctrinated. Nobody ever was a racist to him because he told me our senior year. Never once did he experience racism. Really? That's cool. He was a cool ass shit and knocked on me for better. He was cool as shit and knocked on me for being better than him at basketball. Wow, that's impressive. I was a year older, so I had height advantage. A Karen movie highlights Hollywood's perpetual problem with radical stereotype or racial stereotypes. We're going a little late tonight. I saw this and I definitely wanted to read it. This should be our last one, though. As Americans reemerge from the pandemic life, many will be eager, no doubt, to return to movie theaters. I've already been to a movie theater a few times. The escapist refuge of cinema helped deliver the country through some of its greatest 20th century crisis, including 2 world wars, a Great Depression, Jimmy Carter administration. I like that. But the sticker shock of the Biden-era ticket and concession prices won't be the only grim reminder that all-consuming angst into which we have been thrust in of late. That is one thing that has changed since the sniffles. Every time, it used to be before the sniffles, most of the theaters around here anyway would give you a free refill on your popcorn. I mean, you're paying like, what, $3.50 for a large? Something like that. And so they'd give you a free refill. They don't give you a free refill anymore, and I don't think they ever will again. Because people are like, oh yeah, that's fine, I don't want a free refill. What? Why are you going to get the sniffles if you refill my popcorn? Anyway, movie artistry for the most part also appears to be something of a slouch, yep. Comedian Jon Stewart's recent appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, during which the former Daily Show host made a case for the sniffles lab leak theory, was but most recent shining example of cultural wokeness has degraded the realm of comedy, turning potential subversive humor into a verboten violation of PC dogma. Yeah, comedy nowadays sucks. Horror movies, meanwhile, seem to be veering towards a sort of virtue signaling, critical race peddling insanity, or entity, that is anything but suspenseful. Taryn Manning, star of the upcoming release Karen, said she felt a social responsibility to play the titular villain in order to affect change around the globe, according to the National File. What's been going on is devastating, Manning said, referring to the scourge of systematic microaggressions that have long oppressed the black community. It's time for a change, she continued, and for me to be part of a bigger picture meant a lot to me. Already, though, the movie intended audience has begun to turn out, accusing it of everything from being unwittingly comical to racially explorative. Black people. I want movies with badass black people. Hollywood, no can do. Here's a movie about a Karen being a racist. It's like Get Out, but we took the soul out of it. They made a movie about what black people that live next to racists have to actually endure every day for entertainment. The love profiting off of black trauma, at least the acting was good. Alright, I thought this was a different kind of movie, but apparently not.
Home security serious.
Hi, I am Karen Drexler. I'm your neighbor. You need to be taking your trash cans off the curb right when the trash is picked up.
Is she nice?
I know her.
Yeah, she's nice.
Wait a minute. We have a white entitled neighbor named Karen.
Karen. Okay, enjoy yourself.
There she is.
Alright, I'm probably already gonna get, like, well, this channel's not monetized, but whatever, it is what it is. Alright, cool. I'm gonna read that history about background checks later tonight. Teddy was a Republican? Alright. Well, he was a beloved president, I thought. I said to my black friend, so you're telling me no one called you a racist name or treated you badly? He said, nope, not once. I bet you people are now. Like when I play on game night, when I go over to my Twitch channel and do games over there, every once in a while, like I play Jackbox. That's a game where you can play with your audience. Like as long as you have a phone or a device, like you're watching me on right now, we could play Jackbox. It's a game where you could participate in the game. There's trivia games, there's drawing games, there's a whole bunch of fun stuff. And every once in a while, I'll get somebody who comes in that doesn't comment on my channel, and then all of a sudden I see the N-word written all over it. And that's, I know what it is. It's like an 8-year-old trying to be funny, trying to troll, stuff like that. But I think that's really the worst it is. I don't see. I know there's a lot of white guys now that are kind of like, well, they're just going to call me one. I guess I'm going to be one. But I think that's a very small minority. I think a lot of people still know that they're not, and a lot of people of color know that they're not. There's going to be sides, though. And there are definitely a lot of black people that do think that all white people are racist. Just because they're, white. Which is racist, but whatever. What can you do? I feel like people have too much time on their hands, aren't focused on working, so they're sitting on their phone, computer, tablet, and live their heads and their feelings. People need to be up and moving, working towards a positive. People need to turn off your TV. Stop watching the news. Stop being indoctrinated. Get out and do something real. And that's why I think, and I'll ask you at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to ask you again, are you guys interested in canning and preserving and dehydrating stuff videos? Because I'm thinking about it. Also cooking videos. I did the video. I haven't edited it and I haven't uploaded it. Obviously it's not on the channel, but I did make the video of our first time ever trying a dry aged steak, and I do plan on putting that up at some point. But I've watched a lot of videos and I'm trying to get better. I'm also going to be getting into sous videing meat, which is a unique way of cooking food, and it's really interesting to me. So I'm going to be getting into that once we get a little bit of money under our belt. But I've been thinking about it. I'm not going to stop doing the evening catch-up, but I thought, well, maybe once in a while, maybe once a week or something, I could put out a video of a dish that we make or something like that, Might be fun. Anyway, before we all go, we do have descriptions down below, and in those descriptions are causes I believe in and support. PH association is what near and dear to my heart, as that's the disease that I suffer. I have PAH, and I will die from it. It's hypertension, but it's hypertension of the right side of your heart, and it can't be cured by a pill. It can only be slowed down. So it's a very rare disease. Not a lot of people know about it. Check them out. Find out a little bit more about it if you want. But that's an organization that I definitely believe in because I have that disease. Other than that, we have the GOA, a gun organization that's actually trying to do something unlike the NRA. Yeah, I'm sure they have their faults, but they're doing something. We have ProjectRecover.org, an organization that goes out and looks for lost service members and returns their remains to their families. And then lastly, my good friend Irish USMC vet has got a project going called Rally Point Irish, where he's trying to set up a location in Tennessee where vets can stay room and board free while learning a new life skill like farming, blacksmithing, and gunsmithing. Half of all proceeds donated to this channel go directly to him. If you want to donate to this channel, there are links to do that down below. However, before you donate to this channel, if you're thinking about it, maybe consider donating to Irish's Rally Point Irish. I would like him to see that dream fulfilled, and I would like to see that dream fulfilled. Definitely. So I would encourage you not to donate to me. Go donate to Irish. Other than that, you got all the different places to follow me. You're obviously following me, so, you know, you found me here on Poison Stinger 2. I do have a main channel. It has got a strike on it. We should be back on that on Monday, I believe. And then also Gab, which I hardly ever use. DLive, which I'm on right now. Rumble, which I haven't used either. And then Twitter, which I do use Twitter a lot. Also, I do have a Discord. The Discord link is in the links down below. That's a great place to connect with me. You can have video calls, voice calls. You can share your pics. You can share your recipes. You can share a whole bunch of shit there. Memes too. I got a great fruit meme. But that's a really good one. Go check out Discord if you haven't ever looked into it. It's like a private Twitter/Facebook, and only people that I allow in can be in. Now, if you go and sign up, I'll know it's you most likely because you usually comment. Or just say, you can type in a message. Hey, I saw you on the evening catch up. Yada, yada. I'll be like, okay, you cool. Other than that, that's it. I'll be back again tomorrow at the same time. 6 o'clock my time. 6 o'clock Pacific time. 8 Central and 9 Eastern, I believe. People need Stinger's Kitchen. Maybe. I'm definitely not going to start up a new channel for it. But, I think I might do a little bit. Did you also put the fruit gif on Stinger's Discord? No, I haven't yet. I will put it on Stinger's Discord. You seen it, Riddle?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. If you're on my Discord, go over there into the general tab and check out this meme. Well, it's a gif, I guess. It's a movable video. It's a little video or whatever of people playing with fruit. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, make sure to keep your family close, watch out for that government, and try to live as free as you can in the tyrannical world we find ourselves living in today. Peace.